Balenos, a peaceful region north of Serendia, comprises of two coastal towns called Olvia and Velia, and the island town of Illya. Long ago, with direct access to the great ocean and fertile lands, Balenos was a major power of the continent, comparable even to that of Calpheon. The great Cron Castle was a center of power, built beside a cliff, an impenetrable fortress that none can conquer. Today, more than half of the great castle has fallen to ruins, and no traces of the past glory can be found. Everyone knows about the kingdom's strength during its peak, but the reason behind its downfall has not been documented, and nowhere to be found. Even the story of the immortal alchemist was considered just an exaggerated tale with a moral lesson. But with the recent discovery of the Mural of Prophecy in the ancient stone chamber, the story of King Bartali III and the immortal alchemist has finally been revealed to light. Named after the god of good harvest, Agris was a noble king that upheld the kingdom's tradition. He was not a man of greed and cruelty that many associate him over. It was one small, coincidental event that changed the kingdom forever. That by pure chance, Agris ended up inviting Caphras to a feast inside the Cron Castle. He heard that the famed immortal alchemist has crossed the great desert of Valencia, made his way through the wild lands of Medea, and recently arrived in Balenos. When the king laid eyes on Caphras for the first time, the immortal alchemist looks nothing like he expected. Contrary to what many imagined him to be, which was a skinny old man with unruly white hair and stern expression, he was a neat-looking, personable young man.
The law of alchemy is quite simple, he says. To get a result, you must pay an equivalent price. So as long as you have the right materials, you can do anything. But there are times when some of the materials are hard to acquire. Well, grant me a chance to show you my skills in alchemy, Your Majesty. Tell me, what do you desire, and I will deliver it to you.
Anything is possible, even to make Balenos the strongest nation in the entire continent?
Caphras laughed out loud at the king's statement.
I have a great idea, Your Majesty. I'm sure you will be satisfied with it.
Oh, tell me more about it.
Calpheon is a country that worships Illya, the god of light. I'm sure you must have heard about the story of the Valkyrie Enslar. People say she is the daughter of Illya. The knight Enslar, nicknamed the Valkyrie, a living legend with godlike swordsmanship. Calpheon often out her forth in any battle, and claimed that their country was protected by God, making many countries hesitate to go against them. It's quite simple. If they are protected by the god of light, we just need to call upon a god who is stronger than that.
Finally, someone who can do the impossible possible, the king thought, and thus the start of the fall of Cron Castle. Everything was going as planned. Caphras asked for materials, and Agris searched the entire country to find what he needs. Sometimes, the material Caphras asked was simple and easy to find, but oftentimes it was disgusting and absurd. There was not enough time, but what he asked for became so ridiculous, it was impossible to obtain. The king's assistant started questioning Caphras' identity, and asked for proof that he is in fact the immortal alchemist. Caphras knew that distrust ruins everything, and to solve the problem, he offered to make the king immortal. The king became lost in thought. He imagined his old body withering away, while his young prince lived on in the glory that he worked so hard to obtain. Comfortable in the king's arm, the baby prince reached his hand to Bartali III. His hand was covered in spit. The king, unwittingly, slapped the baby prince's hand away. Caphras saw that and smiled at the king.
That's okay. Everyone has desires. There's no need to be ashamed.
And thus, another contract was established, and a transmutation was performed. Icy wind was blowing from all directions. As he tried to move, a sharp pain ran through his body. The room was full of remnants of Caphras' experiment, which all led up to today. Caphras was in the midst of it all. Despite the harsh wind, he was standing perfectly still, with only his hair dancing in the wind. The baby prince wailed. Only then, Bartali III realized how foolish he was. The king let out a groan while trying to move, and Caphras turned around, smiling bright at him.
My king, where is Ramones, the guardian of Balenos? It is in the shape of black stone, I hear. They say that the stone is used by the king when the country is in grave danger. Right about now, wouldn't you say?
The heavens will punish you even without Ramones.
The king tried to speak with dignity, but what Caphras heard was a wimpy voice trembling with fear. Caphras smiled faintly.
It's not here, is it?
He approached Bartali III, who was still crouched on the floor. He flipped the king's hand so that his palm faced upward and drew something on it. The king felt something sharp pressing into his flesh, like a needle. He squirmed, but Caphras didn't even blink an eye. His grasp was unbelievably strong.
My king, can't you see? All these black spirits looking for a body to possess. Aren't they much more practical than a god that might not actually exist? They're really obedient things. What happens if you become possessed by a black spirit? You became neither living nor dead. And oh, I haven't forgot. You said you wanted to become immortal.
Caphras let go of the king, and Bartali looked at his palm. He had enough grasp of alchemy to recognize that the pattern in his palm to be an alchemy circle. Dread and fear began to cloud his thoughts.
Congratulations, Your Majesty. Your wish has come true. You can sit on this throne for all eternity if you want, until you grow tired.
And then Caphras escaped and left the king, or what's left of him, in the collapsing castle. Later that night, two unknown people has infiltrated the castle. Their purpose was to catch the immortal alchemist, but they arrived way too late. As the dust settled, they caught a glimpse of a figure on the floor and immediately became silent. It was clearly in distress, twisting as if it was in extreme pain. But something was wrong. The figure's muscles were swelling to a monstrous size, then shrinking to almost nothingness. Its limb kept stretching out and suddenly started to shorten. These grotesque changes were repeating. The two men stared at the figure in fascinated horror. Who was he that Caphras performed such cruel alchemy on? Just as he finished speaking, a glint of gold near the writhing figure caught his eye. He gestured to his companion. They edged closer, and, looking down at the royal crown, realized what, or who, the figure on the floor once was. The figure on the ground, its grotesque transformation finally completed, staggered to its feet. It is no other than the once king of Balenos. Figuring that he is already a lost cause, the two men has left the king, or rather the remnants of him, and focus on controlling the black spirit that has run rampant. They can no longer expel the spirits, but they can at least seal them inside the castle. The raging dark energy was sealed in the Cron Castle altar. The screams of the black spirit attempting to escape the seal echoed painfully in their ears. Caphras has released so many black spirits. There is no doubt that, eventually, the seal would break. Using the young son of Bartali III as a medium, they cast powerful blood magic to ensure that the black spirits could not escape the Cron Castle even if the altar was opened. One of the figures picked up the young prince and held him close, making soothing sounds at the crying boy. The young child, who had been crying non-stop, soon quieted and fell asleep. The man looked down at the young prince and quietly spoke to his companion. Send the child somewhere south, far away, to an affluent place where it is always warm, so he can live a normal life, without anyone, even the boy himself, knowing that he is a Bartali or a prince. By your command, must this be kept a secret as well? that Caphras escaped from our grasp, or of the magic placed upon the Bartali blood. Everything, that we were even here. It's probably best to keep these to ourselves. You will have many more secrets to bury in the future. And thus, since that day, Balenos was never the same again. The king and its heir were said to die from the accident, and the echoes of the spirit inside the castle made it haunted, that none of the remaining nobles have ever dared to enter.
Yes, some things never change, like how I'm holding on tight to you.